Halloween night, 1974. Rain poured down on the streets of Deer Park, Texas. But that didn't stop Ronald Clark O'Brien from taking his two children, 8-year-old Timothy and 5-year-old Elizabeth, trick or treating. They were joined by a neighbor, Jim Bates, and his son. So it was two dads and three excited kids ready for candy. The weather was awful, cold, wet, just miserable. So they decided to cut the night short and only visit a couple blocks. While going door to door, they reached one house that didn't answer. The lights were off, completely dark. Everyone moved on, except Ronald. He stayed behind, said he thought someone might be home. A minute later, he caught back up with the group, holding 5 giant Pixie Stix. These weren't your average Halloween candy. They were the big ones, the kind of candy that kids would be thrilled to get. Later that night, at home, Ronald gave one Pixie Stix to each of his kids. Two to the Bates children, and one to another local boy, 10-year-old Whitney Parker, who had stopped by his house to trick or treat. 5 Pixie Stix, 5 kids. Before bed, Ronald told his kids they could pick just one piece of candy to eat that night. Timothy chose the Pixie Stix. He took a sip of the sugary powder but immediately complained about how bitter it tasted. Ronald handed him a drink to wash it down. Within moments, Timothy was violently vomiting. He ran to the bathroom, collapsed, and went completely limp in his father's arms. He was rushed to the hospital, but tragically, he died on the way there. The police were called in. Ronald mentioned the Pixie Stix and panic immediately set in. What if other children had poisoned candy too? Investigators worked fast. They quickly retrieved the remaining Pixie Stix from Elizabeth and the Bates children, but the one given to Whitney Parker was harder to track down. Ronald didn't know the boy's name, only recognized him from church. After some investigation, police found Whitney's home. His parents frantically searched for the Pixie Stix and couldn't find it at first. They ran to his room. Whitney had fallen asleep. In his hand was the Pixie Stick, unopened. The only reason he didn't eat it was because he couldn't get it open. It had been stapled shut. That tiny detail might have saved his life. Tests revealed the horrifying truth. Each Pixie Stix was laced with cyanide, not just a little, enough to kill 2 fully grown adults. Timothy had ingested a lethal dose. The autopsy confirmed it. The local police were terrified that there might be more poison candy out in the community. They warned parents and the town spiraled into panic. For the first time, the urban legend about strangers handing out poisoned candy wasn't just a scary story. It felt real. But when all the candy was collected and tested, no other poisoned Pixie Stix were found. Just those 5, all given out by Ronald. So the focus shifted. Investigators asked Ronald where the Pixie Stix had come from, and that's when things got strange. His story didn't make much sense. He claimed someone at that dark house, the one where no one answered, had suddenly opened the door and handed out 5 Pixie Stix. He said he never saw a face, only a hairy arm sticking out from the doorway. When pressed further, Ronald couldn't remember which house it was. Then later, he pointed to one house at random. It belonged to a man named Courtney Melvin, but Melvin had an airtight alibi. He was at work all night, and over 200 people could confirm it. So, if it wasn't a stranger, who else could have done it? Well, Ronald wasn't exactly the family man he appeared to be. He was in serious financial trouble, over $100,000 in debt, which would be about $500,000 today. He had 21 jobs in the last 10 years, was constantly struggling to stay employed, and just before Halloween, he took out multiple life insurance policies on his kids. In January 1974, he insured both children for $10,000 each, but just weeks before Halloween, he added $20,000 more to each child. In total, $60,000 in life insurance. And get this, the day after Timothy died, Ronald called the insurance company to ask about the payment. That alone was suspicious enough, but there was more. Co-workers said Ronald had been asking about cyanide for months. He'd even approached one colleague in 1973 to ask where he could buy it and how much it would take to kill someone. He claimed it was to clean glass, but no one bought that excuse. Police were never able to find where Ronald bought the cyanide, but they did find a pair of scissors in his home with a waxy residue that matched the Pixie Stix, further linking him to the tempered candy. On November 6, 1974, Ronald Clark O'Brien was arrested. He was charged with the murder of his son Timothy and 4 counts of attempted murder. He maintained his innocence, his defense that the legend of the poison Halloween candy had finally come true and that he had just been caught in the middle of it. The jury didn't believe him. On June 3rd, 1975, Ronald was found guilty on all accounts and sentenced to death. His fellow inmates hated him. He became known as the Candyman. Shortly after his conviction, his wife divorced him and remarried. Her new husband later adopted Elizabeth. Ronald's execution was delayed 3 times, but on March 31st, 1984, he was executed by lethal injection. In his final statement, he said the death penalty was wrong and that he forgave everyone involved in his death. Outside the prison, a crowd had gathered. People yelled trick or treat as his execution took place and threw candy at anti-death penalty protesters. But the impact of Ronald's crimes didn't die with him. It fueled a fear that still exists today. The idea that strangers might poison Halloween candy didn't come from movies or myths. It came from a real man, a father, who murdered his own son for money. Ronald Clark O'Brien will forever be remembered as the Candyman killer.